my name is Ruonan Ding. I'm the full-time student here in the boot camp too. So this is our second project in the class, about the fourth week. So everything again in the Shiny package.
What's your
I did my undergrad in finance and math, minor in journalism. So clearly I didn't know what I want to do in life. I did my master in finance and risk management. I worked in financial, banking, and insurance industry for the past 5 years, more than 5 years probably. And I quit my job a week prior to the boot camp, start full-time here.
70% of the students quit job 2 weeks before the boot camp. So they have some rest time.
Yeah, I want to roll it over to 4-1, so sneaky plan. But yeah, so my topic is actually on the Panama Papers investigation. This is a fairly new topic that the database was available last Monday, May 9th. So this is the offshore industry where it's a secretive parallel world no one really understands. I knew some background of it, but I didn't know how big it was and how complicated it is. So today the goal is actually just give you guys a brief overview of it, of the database that I got, and hopefully we can unveil some of the secret behind it. So let's start with the data source. A little bit disclaimer. These are really small.
You can read this.
Oh, yeah. So the data was actually hacked by one of the anonymous hacker and sent to Europe, one of the European biggest newspaper. It's a law firm, the Panamanian law firm called Mossack Fonseca. It's one of the top players, one of the biggest law firm that actually has been doing this for over 30 years, I would say. And this is all their client information and how they help different entities establish like shell companies or offshore entities in the tax haven. So before we go into the data, it might be the terminologies might be a little bit confusing, so I want to spend time a little bit going through the terms. So when we say offshore entity, it actually very straightforward. It's off the shore. So it means it's kind of like the island where you don't operate in that island. So you do your business on the shore, but then you kind of incorporate in the island. So you pay the island tax. You pay, that's for a profit, but you still do pay some of the operation tax in the country, but it's a lot less than if you incorporate on the shore. That's why people are doing that. So the two purposes of doing offshore business, one is to hide the final beneficiary owner. So once you transfer money so many times, no one can trace back who's the final beneficiary out of that amount of money. Or you can register or incorporate in a tax haven where it saves you a lot of tax on your profit. And next term is intermediary. That's actually sort of like the law firm and accounting firm that help you establish an entity. So that could be several banks, law firms for one transaction. When you kind of move money out of the U.S. to UK, Irish, and then come back to Bermuda, you're actually there are several intermediaries kind of help you along the way. And the last one is tax status. That's where the jurisdiction country is. So if your final jurisdiction country is in Bermuda, you are a Bermuda registered company, which is most of the insurance company in the U.S. I happen used to be in that industry, so that I know that. Okay, let's start with some of the interesting case study. I want to start with a case study just so easier to understand the structure. So this is for the U.S. entity, offshore entities. That means these are the companies that currently operates in the U.S. So that's Google, whoever that we can think about, the big ones, even AIG or most of the insurance industry. So these companies operate in the U.S., but then they hire intermediate middlemen to help them kind of avoid high tax in the U.S. So these are actually the countries that participate in this network. So they would probably go to, like Google, they would hire someone in Irish. They have different entities in Irish to get money transferred out, and then to Bermuda eventually. So these, as you can see, most countries participate in this network. And this is the final jurisdiction. So after you're transferring that money around, where the money final go, the final destination of that amount of money. That actually, as you can see, it's a lot of Central America. U.S. itself is big just because we do have the states like Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada. Those are kind of offshore for U.S. And then here we have Hong Kong and Singapore. Those are the traditional ones that participate in these industry. Same with UK and that region. So compared to the intermediaries, this is a lot less number of countries in general. So next, I wanna show you guys kind of the entity distribution by location. So we'll walk through the geographic distribution of the entities as well as how things develop over here. So this is all the countries that actually have offshore companies, heavily in Europe and US and Asia. So mostly kind of developed countries. And below here, you can explore the number of entities by the country name and percentage of the total entities. So Hong Kong, Switzerland, Panama, these are the traditional ones. Hong Kong and Switzerland itself, two of them are actually, these two numbers just happen to be the same, the 37, I checked that. So those because Hong Kong and Switzerland are the front runner of this system. And what they do is they actually encourage companies to incorporate in their territory, and they offer very low corporate tax. At the same, so you get the benefit of offshore company, but you still maintain your reputation in the industry. So compared to a Central America, Panama, or Belize shell company, it seemed more legit. And next one, let's go through the timeline of the development. This is number of entities over time. As you can, oops. So the peak is right before the the 2008 financial crisis. So it's slowly going up, and then after that, slowly going down. So there's an event happened in 2013 that was the first offshore entity leak that happened in UK in 2013. After that, there's a steep drop. So they kind of changed the law about how to incorporate and how to establish the shell company. That's why the number of entities dropped significantly after that. So below here, you can actually try to select your jurisdiction that you want to look at, and then see how that developed over the year. The default I put on here is Panama. It's pretty much in line with what happened in the overall picture. There's another one. This is Bahamas, I think. This is a lot early on. Bahamas was specialized in what's called international business company. Those are completely shell company that just for, I wouldn't, just easy to understand. It's easy for kind of higher identity, money laundering, things like that. So law changed around early 2000. That's why it dropped. So after that, very interesting thing I want to see is how many of these companies are actually still in business. So there are legitimate companies operating on day in, day out behalf. As you can see, most of these companies defaulted. That means they didn't pay the license fee or they didn't do anything to maintain their status. So their sole purpose was actually for that one-time use, pretty much. So the active amount is very low. And there's bad debt account, trash company. So these are, when they established, their status is changed. They use for one time and they discard it. So it can tell you why the society kind of give a assumption, or for some these are not legit business because they're not active participating in our business world. So yeah, so I think my app is, again, to tell a little bit about this parallel secretive world. It's very complicated. Every structure that you want to establish in this world is specifically designed for you, for your purpose. What's your purpose of doing so? Is it for tax, or is it for hiding your identity? Things like that. So there are many people in the way, along the way, can help you do this. And not saying, again, going back to the data, the disclaimer on the database, we're not saying anyone doing this is illegal. There are legitimate use of the offshore companies and trust. But it is under, it's kind of the shadow world, no one knows. So hopefully using this app or going through the data on this, by just clicking different, when you can zoom in by the countries and look at the number of entities, all that, and then you can go through the table here, and also by the jurisdiction, can give you a clear picture of where things are at this point. Thank you. Questions?
Questions?
Yeah.
So you did all these graphics on Shiny.
Yes. So yeah, it's the Google Vis package.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all in
you can
Shiny.
pick into the country, and then it will show the graph that's correspond with the.
Right. So what I did, there's a lot of data cleaning involved, but there is also another package from R called country code that will kind of map your country code
Right.
with a regarding country name. And then once you have a standard country name, R can read it.
How much if data will change? How you insert or update the data?
Well, I input the data. You mean how I get the data into R?
Yeah, for example, dynamically, can you input the data?
Yes. These are all dynamic tables. And you can,
How do you? Oh, sorry.
you can always zoom in. These are 7,269 entities in this country if we can zoom in later on.
So, for example, tomorrow you will have like 1,000 more entities. How you will add it to that 1,000 more?
We have another global, that's where I process my data. So once I update that, I just kind of append my data on that. It will update it on this.
So it's not user inserting data.
It's not user insert data at this point.
So this will pull data from your source.
Yes, this is this is the biggest leak so far of the offshore company, and let's hope it stay that way for a little while. But yeah, so one-time pull so far.
Cool. I just have two quick comments. It's very easy to use dynamic data because the Shiny app is hosted on Unix server. You can write a script to download the data from the web link and trigger your data cleaning and processing script. So it's going to be ready for Shiny to consume it.